Imagine waking up tomorrow to breaking news: humans have colonized Mars. Not in 50 years, not in some distant sci-fi future. Today, right now. Welcome to What If Horizons, where we take impossible scenarios and dissect them like a frog in a high school biology class, except with fewer squeamish students and more existential dread. So, how did this happen? Did Elon Musk finally snap and launch a secret mission while we were all distracted by Twitter drama? Did NASA discover a Starbucks on Mars and decide it was time to move in? Or did humanity collectively look at Earth's current state, climate disasters, political chaos, the fact that pineapple on pizza is still debated, and just say, you know what? Let's start over. Let's break it down. The first colonists would wake up in cramped, sterile pods, groggily realizing they're now permanent residents of a dusty red rock with no Uber Eats. The novelty of low-gravity jumping would wear off fast when you spill your morning coffee, again, and watch it float away in slow motion. Martian real estate agents would have a field day selling cozy, crater-adjacent homes with breathtaking dust storm views. But here's the real kicker. Mars doesn't have oxygen, or breathable air, or a functional Wi-Fi signal. Forget doomscrolling. You'd be too busy manually checking your oxygen levels like some kind of apocalyptic gas meter. And let's not even talk about dating. Netflix and chill becomes airlock and suffocate. Yet, against all odds, humanity would adapt. Because that's what we do. We'd grow potatoes in our own poop, shout out to the Martian, invent Martian memes, first meme from Mars, still gets no likes, and inevitably start arguing about whether Mars should be a democracy or a corporate dystopia. Spoiler: it'll be both. So buckle up. This is just the beginning. The red planet is open for business, whether we're ready or not. Now let's talk about who actually gets to live on Mars. Because let's be honest, it won't be you or me. The first colonists would be a carefully selected group of scientists, engineers, and probably a few billionaires who paid their way on board. The rest of us, stuck on Earth watching their adventures through heavily edited video updates with a 20-minute delay. The selection process would be brutal. Forget job interviews. This would be like the Olympics mixed with a psychiatric evaluation. Can you fix a broken oxygenator while sleep deprived? Check. Can you handle being trapped in a tiny pod with the same 5 people for years without committing murder? Double check. Do you panic when the Wi-Fi cuts out? Sorry, you're disqualified immediately. These pioneers would face challenges we can barely imagine. Martian dust gets everywhere. Worse than beach sand, worse than glitter. It would clog machinery, sneak into spacesuits, and probably ruin at least one marriage when someone tracks it into the shared sleeping quarters. The first divorce in space would happen before the first baby is born, guaranteed. And let's talk about food. Say goodbye to fresh produce unless you really enjoy the taste of lab-grown lettuce and recycled water. That farm-to-table movement becomes vat-to-mouth. The first person to smuggle in real coffee beans would become the most popular person on the planet, until they run out and have to face the angry mob of caffeine-deprived scientists. Work-life balance takes on new meaning when your workplace is also your bedroom, kitchen, and bathroom. There's no leaving the office when the office is your entire world. Happy hour means carefully rationed alcohol wipes and pretending the protein paste tastes better when you eat it slowly. Yet somehow, against all logic, people would still complain about trivial things. The Wi-Fi is too slow. The neighbor's pod music is too loud. Someone didn't clean the shared bathroom, again. Plus ca change, even 140 million miles away. The psychological toll would be immense. Imagine looking out your window and seeing nothing but endless red desert, knowing the nearest 7-Eleven is an 8-month trip away. The first person to crack and start talking to the rover like a pet wouldn't be surprising, they'd just be the first. But here's the twist. These colonists would become the most watched reality show in human history. Every mundane detail of their lives would be broadcast back to Earth, where the rest of us eat popcorn and judge their life choices from the comfort of our oxygen-rich atmosphere. Stay tuned for what happens when the first political arguments break out over who gets control of the good shower schedule. Because if there's one thing humans excel at, it's creating bureaucracy, even in space. Now let's examine the economics of this new Martian society. Because nothing says human civilization like figuring out how to monetize a barren wasteland. The first currency would probably be oxygen credits, Nothing makes capitalism more visceral than literally trading breaths. Forget Bitcoin, the new hot investment would be nitrogen futures. The job market would look different. Geologists become rock stars, pun intended, botanists turn into celebrities for making things grow in dirt that's actively trying to kill plants, and janitors become the most essential workers when one dust-covered air filter could mean life or death. Meanwhile, all the lawyers and marketing executives who somehow snuck onto the first ships would suddenly find themselves with very transferable skills to manual labor. Supply chains take on new meaning when your Amazon delivery takes 9 months and might burn up in the atmosphere. The concept of next-day shipping becomes a cruel joke. Someone would definitely try to start an interstellar Uber Eats, and fail spectacularly when the food arrives cold, dead, and possibly radioactive. Entertainment would be creative. Mars' first streaming service would consist of preloaded Earth shows and vlogs from people you're already sick of seeing every day. The local theater would just be someone reenacting entire seasons of Friends from memory. Sports become more intense when playing in low gravity. Imagine basketball where everyone can dunk, or soccer where the ball might literally fly away. The housing market would be a special kind of ridiculous. Luxury means having more than 6 square feet of personal space. Underground pods would be marketed as cozy subterranean villas, while charging Manhattan prices. And the first person to claim water view for their dome next to the piss recycling plant would become the galaxy's first interplanetary real estate scammer. Taxation without representation gets a whole new meaning when Earth governments still want to claim jurisdiction. The first Martian tax revolt would happen approximately 12 minutes after the first paycheck gets docked for interplanetary infrastructure development. Meanwhile, the billionaires who funded the colony would be figuring out how to pay workers in company script redeemable only at the company store. Yet somehow, against all odds, someone would open a Starbucks. It would serve terrible coffee at outrageous prices, and people would line up around the crater for it. Because some Earth traditions are too powerful to die, even when the planet does. Stay tuned for when we discuss how crime and punishment works in a society where exile means being thrown outside to literally die in the vacuum of space. The justice system gets real simple real fast. Crime on Mars presents some unique challenges. For starters, where exactly does a criminal hide on a planet where every breath is monitored and tracked? The first attempted bank robbery would fail spectacularly when the would-be thief realizes there are no banks, just oxygen credit kiosks guarded by armed drones. That great Martian casino heist movie plot quickly becomes a documentary about poor life choices in low gravity. The justice system would be ruthlessly efficient. Commit murder. Congratulations, your new home is now the airlock awaiting the next supply ship back to Earth. Steal someone's protein paste ration. Enjoy your new job as the colony's toilet scrubber until you've worked off your debt. There's no room for prisons when every square inch of habitat space costs a fortune to maintain. Rehabilitation takes on a whole new meaning when the alternative is being voted off the planet. Law enforcement would consist mostly of engineers with tasers. The chief of police is probably just whoever was least terrible at conflict resolution during training. Their most sophisticated investigative tool, reviewing the footage from approximately 9 million surveillance cameras placed in every conceivable location. Privacy died the moment humans left Earth's atmosphere. Then there's the black market. Someone will always find a way to smuggle contraband, whether it's Earth chocolate, vintage memes stored on flash drives, or actual drugs synthesized from cleaning supplies. The first drug bust on Mars would involve confiscating homemade alcohol distilled from fermented fungus. The perpetrator would become both a criminal and a folk hero simultaneously. Organized crime would look different too. The Martian mafia doesn't break your kneecaps, they tamper with your oxygen mix. Protection rackets revolve around life support system maintenance rather than shady backroom deals. And that nice little dome you got here becomes a genuine threat when they control the water reclamation system. Oddly enough, petty crime might actually decrease. When everyone's survival depends on communal cooperation, stealing your neighbor's last tomato becomes social suicide. The harshest punishment isn't official sanction, it's having to eat alone in the mess hall while everyone glares at you. Colonial social media, yes, they'd reinvent it immediately, would roast offenders worse than any court. The first courtroom drama would be must-watch entertainment for the entire colony. Imagine 12 angry colonists in pressure suits trying to determine if accidentally killing the last yeast culture constitutes negligent homicide. There'd be dramatic objections, emotional breakdowns, and at least one person floating away from the bench in frustration. Criminology textbooks would need complete rewrites. The concept of fleeing the scene takes on cosmic proportions when the scene is a sealed habitat on an otherwise lifeless planet. Criminals can run, but they can't hide, not when their biometrics are constantly monitored and the nearest neutral territory is 34 million miles away. Yet somehow, within 5 years, Mars would develop its own peculiar version of underground poker games, backroom deals, and bureaucratic corruption. Because humanity never lets little things like planetary survival get in the way of a good scam. Coming up next, how healthcare becomes a terrifying combination of cutting-edge technology and frontier medicine where the nearest specialist is 8 light minutes away. The phrase, "Have you tried turning it off and on again?" takes on life or death significance. Healthcare on Mars would be a terrifying mix of cutting-edge technology and frontier desperation. The colony's chief medical officer isn't just a doctor, they're part mechanic, part pharmacist, and full-time anxiety dispenser. That WebMD symptom checker becomes infinitely more stressful when the internet connection has a 20-minute delay and your rash might actually be cosmic radiation poisoning. The hospital would essentially be a glorified toolbox with an attached quarantine zone. Forget private rooms, patients get a curtain if they're lucky. The waiting list for elective surgery stretches longer than the trip back to Earth because every medical supply has to be rationed like gold. That minor procedure you've been putting off. Congratulations, it's now a major operation requiring committee approval and 3 engineers to jury-rig the necessary equipment. Dental care enters a new era of horror. The colony dentist doubles as the 3D printer technician, crafting fillings from whatever biocompatible materials survived the journey. Root canals become extreme sports when the anesthetic supply runs low. The phrase, "just breathe through it," takes on cruel irony in an environment where breathing is never guaranteed. Mental health treatment revolves around the 3 S's: sedatives, simulation pods, and stern lectures about group morale. The first therapist on Mars would burn out within months from being everyone's emotional dumping ground. Their replacement, an AI program to say, "And how does that make you feel?" while secretly alerting security if you seem too unstable. Pregnancy becomes the ultimate high-stakes gamble. That miracle of life now requires sign-off from 3 department heads and a liability waiver longer than the Mars Constitution. The nursery is the most heavily fortified room in the colony, stocked with contingency plans for every possible complication. New parents don't get baby showers, they get survival training. The pharmacy looks like a mad scientist's garage. Pills are rationed by the milligram, expiration dates are treated as gentle suggestions, and alternative medicine means grinding up vitamin supplements to stretch them further. That headache powder from Earth becomes more valuable than cocaine, traded secretly in the corridors between shifts. Emergency protocols include cheerful euphemisms like resource reallocation for when patients can't be saved. The ethics committee meets weekly to determine which life support systems get priority when things go wrong. Their decisions are final, unquestionable, and haunt everyone involved for years. Yet somehow, against all odds, the medical team would perform miracles with duct tape and determination. That botched appendectomy using repurposed robotics parts becomes legendary. The time they synthesized antibiotics from engineered yeast saves the entire colony. Healthcare on Mars isn't pretty, but it's the most innovative triage in human history. Coming next, how education functions when the schoolhouse might lose oxygen at any moment, and the curriculum includes asteroid spotting 101. Nap time gets replaced with emergency drill practice, and the teacher's pet is whoever can fix the air filters fastest. Education on Mars would be unlike anything seen on Earth. Forget standardized testing. Here, the final exam is literally staying alive. The school day begins with oxygen level checks and ends with emergency drill practice. Nap time gets replaced with airlock operation training, and the most popular kid isn't the athlete or the artist, it's whoever can fix the water recycler fastest. The curriculum focuses on practical survival skills with a side of theoretical knowledge. Mathematics isn't just about solving equations, it's about calculating exactly how many seconds of oxygen remain during a habitat breach. History class covers Earth's past with the eerie detachment of studying ancient civilizations, while science lessons carry higher stakes. Get the chemistry wrong and you might poison the entire colony's air supply. Teachers become the most respected and overworked members of society. The average educator juggles lesson planning, equipment maintenance, and psychological counseling, all while making sure their students don't accidentally depressurize the classroom. The phrase, "do your homework," takes on new urgency when unfinished assignments could mean a system's failure tomorrow. Recess happens in the safest available dome, where kids play low-gravity tag and build makeshift forts out of supply crates. Traditional playground equipment is non-existent, but that doesn't stop children from turning air ducts into jungle gyms and getting scolded for clogging the filters with Martian dust. The first, "don't lick the equipment," signs go up within a week of the school opening. Higher education becomes a strange hybrid of apprenticeship and extreme training. There are no lecture halls, just cramped workshops where engineering students rebuild life support systems and botany majors tend to the fragile food supply. The concept of dropping out doesn't exist because everyone's survival depends on each person pulling their weight. Parent-teacher conferences revolve around oxygen consumption reports and behavioral assessments. Your child talks too much during critical safety briefings, replaces, your child disrupts class. Grades matter less than demonstrated competence. No one cares if you failed algebra if you can recalibrate a CO2 scrubber in under 3 minutes. Field trips consist of carefully monitored excursions to nearby rock formations or, if the students are lucky, the hydroponic gardens. Permission slips include liability waivers for radiation exposure, and the chaperones are armed with emergency oxygen tanks instead of first aid kits. Yet somehow, despite the harsh conditions, creativity flourishes. Martian children invent new games using whatever scraps of technology they can find. They write stories about Earth they've never seen, draw pictures of imagined alien creatures, and compose music using the rhythmic hum of life support systems. The first generation born on Mars will grow up with a perspective no Earthling could fully understand, seeing their home planet not as a given, but as a distant, fragile memory. Coming next, the unexpected cultural shifts when a society develops entirely inside sealed habitats. Language evolves, traditions mutate, and someone inevitably starts a debate about whether Martian dust storms count as weather. Spoiler: they do, and people will complain about them exactly like Earthlings complain about rain. Culture on Mars would evolve in strange and unpredictable ways, shaped entirely by the constraints of living in a sealed metal can on a dead planet. The first thing to go would be personal space etiquette. After 6 months in close quarters, nobody cares if you clip your toenails at the breakfast table anymore. Language starts morphing immediately. Earth idioms make less sense when there's no actual grass to be greener, no open seas to fish in, and definitely no horses to beat. "It's not rocket science" becomes the ultimate insult when literally everything is rocket science. New phrases emerge, like dancing in the dust, making bad decisions, or sharing oxygen, trusting someone implicitly. Holidays get reinvented out of necessity. Thanksgiving centers around celebrating the first successful potato harvest from recycled waste. Christmas involves decorating the oxygen tanks with whatever colorful wires can be spared. New Year's Eve counts down to Earth time zones nobody actually lives in anymore, but traditions die hard. The arts take on a distinctly claustrophobic flavor. Martian poetry fixates on themes of containment and longing. Music favors electronic beats over acoustic instruments. No one wants to be the jerk playing drums in a pressurized habitat. Theater performances happen in the cargo bay with sets made from spare parts, and the most dramatic scene is always when an actor pretends to have a spacesuit malfunction. Fashion trends revolve around utility with a side of rebellion. Everyone wears the same standard issue jumpsuits, but individuals customize them with whatever dyes can be extracted from lab supplies. The ultimate status symbol isn't a designer label, it's having enough spare water allotment to wash your hair weekly. Social hierarchies form around unexpected criteria. The most respected people aren't the richest or most attractive, they're the ones who can fix anything with duct tape and keep their cool during emergencies. The outcasts aren't the weirdos, but the people who hog shower time or steal extra protein packs from the commissary. Dating becomes a high-stakes game of resource management. There's no swiping left or right, just awkward communal meals where everyone evaluates potential partners based on skill sets and oxygen consumption rates. Breakups are catastrophic when your ex controls access to your life support system diagnostics. Yet through all this, Earth nostalgia becomes its own cultural force. People obsess over old sitcoms and argue about whether pizza was really as good as the videos suggest. The most popular bar in the colony isn't really a bar. It's just a corner where people sip recycled water and pretend it's whiskey while watching reruns of Friends for the 1000th time. Coming next. How sports and recreation adapt when every activity could accidentally kill you. Low-gravity basketball becomes an extreme sport, and the first Martian Olympics feature events like emergency airlock cycling and most efficient spacewalk. The gold medal is just extra shower credits, but people compete like their lives depend on it, because in a way, they do. Sports and recreation on Mars would be equal parts exhilarating and terrifying. Traditional games take on new dimensions when played in 1/3 Earth gravity. Basketball becomes a high-flying spectacle where everyone can dunk, but also where the ball might accidentally sail out of the habitat dome if someone shoots too hard. The first inter-colony tournament ends in disaster when a spike in oxygen use triggers rationing protocols mid-game. Exercise isn't optional, it's mandatory to prevent muscle atrophy in low gravity. The gym consists of bungee cords, resistance bands, and a lot of creative cursing. The most hated person in the colony is the fitness instructor who insists on morning calisthenics when the air recyclers are barely functioning. Yoga takes on new meaning when downward dog might literally mean clinging to the floor grates to avoid floating away. Extreme sports get redefined. Parkour enthusiasts leap between habitat modules in pressurized suits, where one misjudged jump could mean bouncing uncontrollably toward the horizon. The first Martian base jumper is either a legend or a cautionary tale, depending on whether their makeshift parachute actually works in the thin atmosphere. Board games and card tournaments become serious business when there's little else to do during dust storms. Chess matches last for days, with players obsessively studying moves during work breaks. The colony's reigning poker champion probably cheats using their knowledge of life support system noises, but nobody can prove it. The first Mars Olympics would feature events Earth never dreamed of: synchronized spacewalking, emergency airlock cycling relays, competitive hydroponic gardening. The marathon happens on treadmills arranged in a circle, because running outside would be suicidally stupid. Medals are made from scrap metal, and the victory ceremony involves sipping precious real fruit juice smuggled from Earth. Children invent bizarre hybrid games using whatever equipment is available. Low-gravity tag becomes an elaborate game of strategy when you can leap over entire corridors. Hide-and-seek takes on new intensity when hiding spots might include actual life or death emergency shelters. The phrase, "play outside," means something entirely different when outside wants to kill you. Entertainment tech is limited but ingenious. Virtual reality becomes the ultimate escape, despite the 20-minute delay from Earth servers. The most popular VR experience, ironically, a simulation of walking through an Earth forest with unlimited fresh air. Movie nights involve projecting films onto the dome walls, with the occasional real-life meteor shower providing unexpected special effects. Yet for all the constraints, playfulness persists. Someone will always find a way to turn mundane tasks into games. The weekly habitat cleaning becomes a dance party with mops. Routine equipment checks turn into impromptu talent shows. Even in the harshest environment, humans will still find ways to be ridiculous, because laughter might not be the best medicine, but it's the only one that never runs out of supplies. Coming next, the inevitable political struggles when different factions start arguing over how to run this fragile new society. The first Martian election makes Earth politics look civilized by comparison, and the debate over whether to declare independence escalates faster than a leaking airlock. Politics on Mars would make Earth's government dramas look like polite dinner conversations. The first power struggle begins approximately 5 minutes after arrival, when someone suggests rotating shower schedules and half the colony revolts. Democracy takes on new meaning when every vote could literally determine life or death for the community. Factions form with alarming speed. The engineers want to prioritize infrastructure, the scientists demand more research time, and the maintenance workers quietly hold all the real power because they control the oxygen flow. The first political scandal erupts when someone is caught hoarding coffee packets, a crime punishable by temporary reduction of shower privileges. Election campaigns are unlike anything seen on Earth. Candidates don't make promises about lower taxes or better schools. they campaign on air filter maintenance schedules and fair distribution of vitamin supplements. Debate topics include whether mushroom protein should be mandatory in all meals and if recreational use of the exercise equipment should be regulated. The legal system becomes a bizarre hybrid of survival logic and bureaucratic nonsense. Laws are written in permanent marker on whatever flat surfaces are available. The Constitution is basically a bullet-point list that starts with, "Don't touch that button," and ends with, "Seriously, stop arguing about the thermostat." Judges wear pressure suits instead of robes, and the most common sentence is community service repairing vital equipment. International tensions from Earth inevitably spill over. The American sector insists on calling their habitat Mars Base Freedom, while the international contingent rolls their eyes so hard it's visible through helmet visors. Someone starts a passive-aggressive war by reprogramming the communal kitchen bots to use metric or imperial measurements based on who's asking. The independence movement gains traction shockingly fast. Why should Earth governments control Martian resources when they're not the ones breathing recycled farts in a tin can? The first revolutionary pamphlets are secretly printed on the back of toilet paper ration cards. Protest songs are hummed quietly in the corridors, because actual singing wastes too much oxygen. Yet somehow, despite the constant bickering, things get done. Crisis has a way of cutting through political nonsense when the alternative is suffocation. The most heated debates end abruptly when a dust storm threatens the solar panels, forcing everyone to work together. The colony's first true leader emerges not through elections, but by being the only person who knows how to fix the water recycler during an emergency. Coming next, the philosophical and existential questions that arise when humanity becomes a multi-planet species. What does it mean to be from Earth when you've never seen its oceans? Can you still call yourself human when your body adapts to low gravity? And most importantly, who gets to decide what kind of society this new branch of civilization becomes? The answers might surprise you, or terrify you, or possibly both at the same time. As humanity spreads its wings beyond Earth, we face questions deeper than Martian craters. What does it mean to be human when your bones weaken in low gravity, your skin never feels real sunlight, and your children ask what rain sounds like? The first true Martians, those born and raised in domes, will develop their own identity, separate from Earth's baggage yet carrying its legacy. The physical changes come first. Martian kids grow taller and frailer in the low gravity, their bodies adapting in ways that might make return to Earth impossible. Their accents drift into something new, blending languages from across the colonies. Their humor revolves around airlock mishaps and CO2 scrubber jokes that would baffle Earth audiences. Philosophically, the divide grows wider. Earth seems increasingly like a mythical place, overcrowded, chaotic, and impossibly lush. Martians develop a quiet superiority complex, knowing they survive through intelligence and cooperation rather than Earth's abundance. Yet they also feel an aching nostalgia for a home they've never visited, watching blue-tinged sunsets through filtered domes. Religion mutates. New belief systems emerge worshipping not gods, but the delicate balance of life support systems. Ancient rituals adapt. Ramadan becomes a test of water rationing, Christmas trees are fashioned from spare oxygen tubing. The first Martian-born pope causes a scandal by suggesting hell might just be a malfunctioning heating unit. Art reflects this duality. Martian novels feature protagonists struggling with Earth's expectations. Music incorporates the rhythmic hum of machinery. Paintings use dust and recycled lubricants as mediums, creating works that would crumble in Earth's humidity. Every creative act becomes a rebellion against the sterility of survival. The big question remains, will Mars remain Earth's distant child, or become something entirely new? The answer lies in the first generation that looks up at Earth in the sky and feels nothing but polite curiosity. Their loyalty won't be to flags or nations, but to the air in their lungs and the people who maintain it. This is our future, hurtling toward us whether we're ready or not. The red planet is no longer just a destination, it's a mirror showing humanity what we might become when stripped of our natural habitat. The experiment has begun, and there's no control group. If this journey through Martian possibilities sparked your imagination, do us a favor, tap like if you'd risk dust lung for a chance to see the Valles Marineris, drop a comment about which Earth luxury you'd miss most, and subscribe to What If Horizons for more mind-bending scenarios. Our next episode asks what happens if we discover we're not just alone in the universe but hopelessly outclassed. Until then, keep looking up. just maybe through a radiation-resistant visor.